Book Stew viewers and listeners. Today I'm going to introduce you to an author whose book put me in a place that I don't go to all the time, a really deep, observant, and admiring place. And if you are readers, you might have read Hernan Diaz's novel Trust and Lauren Groff's novel Fates and Furies. I make a comparison between this book, which is called The Delicate Beast, and those two because they were very enveloping books, all three. So when you're reading them, you go into those worlds and you only reluctantly emerge from those worlds when real life calls. So I'd like to introduce you to Roger Celestin, who's the author of The Delicate Beast. Welcome, Roger.
Eileen, and thank you for having me. Thank you.
So in your own words, you said, I found a way of writing that enabled me to make use of my own life, the material closest to me. So this is a novel and not a memoir. There are elements of memoir in it. Was it a difficult balance? How did you do it, I guess, is my question.
I think for a long time, I felt that the place where I was born, which is Haiti, and the most obvious reference for the fictional Tropical Republic, was a place that was whose reality was very Baroque in the sense of very colorful, very vibrant. Its history very violent, but also, again, colorful. And that it called, in a way, for being written about, for being turned into fiction. So the step from autobiography to fiction was very easy for me because I just felt the place was asking for it. So the reason why it took me such a long time is how do you do that without lapsing, as it were, into autobiography, which I certainly did not want to do. I wanted to be absolutely free of history, of dates, even though some of the dates are very specific and some of the history is very specific. So I don't know if I'm answering your question. So it was a balance between, as you said, autobiography and fiction. So on the one hand, the place was calling for it. And on the other, it took me a long time to find how to do it, to find my own voice without being bogged down by autobiography. Does that make sense?
It does, but then, so I'm in the first part, I'm reading, and it's called The Tropical Republic. And since I decided not to read any of the materials, any of the publicity materials that came with the book itself, I didn't know which Tropical Republic it was, though as the book went along, I began to develop a feel for it. But then there was also the mortician, who I think is similar to Papa Doc, and the men in sunglasses, which reminded me of the Tonton Macoots, and then the Authentics, who were the supporters of the Papa Doc character, who was called the mortician. So part of me was going, like, should I run right to a history book and see if the unnamed or the renamed people corresponded to the real people or not? As the book went on, it became less important to me, but I think that was a tactic that you took that maybe some readers might find a little bit mysterious, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, in a way, you're the ideal reader because you did exactly what I wanted the reader to do, which is to lapse into fiction, or as you said, some mysterious place. But at the same time, it's not so difficult to figure out the relationship between the real Haiti and the tropical republic, although it could be a number of other places, right? It's both specific and left vague on purpose. Otherwise, you're reading history or you're reading a kind of autobiography. Was increased by fiction rather than being a straightforward account of a particularly violent moment in a specific place's history.
All right, well, can you do a reading? We chose two readings, and the first one reflects the tropical republic in a peaceful moment. And I thought it lent great contrast to what follows, but I thought the description was particularly evocative. So I just have to mention at this point that we've had a few audio glitches. So at some point we may stop and start, but hopefully they can be rectified. So Roger, in the interest of the description of the tropical republic and what life was like in the peaceful times, I'd love you to read a few pages.
Oh, I think maybe a little bit of context. The character named the boy, has a young aunt who has a favorite cousin, and they're two young women, probably around 16, around there. And they go to this nearby park in the afternoons, which is one of the rare public places where the boy is allowed to go. It's like a 5-minute walk from where he lives. And indeed, it is peaceful times before the violence breaks out. On most Sunday afternoons, the two girls walk to the church square in their boussac dresses and their stylish rectangular purses and flat shoes. One's hair in a ponytail, the other's in the trendy teased bouffant, punctured by a strategically placed little bow. Both wear pale pink lipstick, verging on white, also the rage among girls their age, in that place and in that time. Between them, whispered conversations about boys and actors and actresses, fiery longings, forlorn regrets, heart-rending breakups. On the square, boys are buying girls ice cream and sending billets doux through intermediaries. The boy and his brother sometimes used as strategic go-betweens by these older boys, these young men who look longingly at the young aunt and her cousin, two girls seemingly aloof in their shielding companionship, returning most messages with cold disdain, but sometimes accepting a piece of paper folded into intricate triangular patterns, inscribed with an ardent declaration or proposing a rendezvous. Performances of courtly love from another far away time and place being played out in the tropics. The square's gardens are fragrant with gardenias, frangipani, freshly cut grass. The pathways are filled with the Sunday crowd in its Sunday best. Men, women, children, couples, families, the anonymous crowd. The sellers of sweets and peanuts, chewing gum and cigarettes sitting on their low chairs. Ice cream vendors ringing the bells of their metal carts. Pastry vendors carrying flat wooden cases on their heads, bending down to open their cases for buyers in one smooth movement. Vendors of patties, beef or codfish in crusty dough, carrying their baskets in the crooks of their arms and coming to a standstill when beckoned, opening their baskets, letting the warm, mingled smell of meat, codfish, and baked dough rise from beneath layers of paper, taking coins and delicately handing out patties, small and large, like offerings. Women crouching in front of their dark-sided pots of boiling oil, selling spicy chunks of pork and slices of fried plantain. Shoe-shine men, busy brushing shoes or inserting pieces of cardboard between ankles and socks before applying polish. Others swiftly scraping rhombuses of compact, shaved ice from a hefty block resting among bottles in their wooden carts. A flavor is chosen, and the rhombus is covered in green, orange, red, or purple syrup and handed out to a customer. A few drops of liquid color dripping. Coins are exchanged. It is still too early for the young women in their tight skirts, heavy perfume, and high heels to come out on the square. The boy and his brother sit on one of the stone benches, still warm from the sun, even though the day is quickly waning, night about to fall. Sometimes, in the quickly disappearing light, they are asked in whispers by the two older girls to take a short walk. Va te promener avec ton frère. Go take a walk with your brother. Come back in 5 minutes and don't go too far, adding, we must be able to see you at all times. A breach of the agreement these girls have with their parents, who count on close, constant, and mutual surveillance, the boys as chaperones and the older girls as guardians, ensuring the boys' safety in that public space, in that anonymous crowd, away from the sheltering house and its gardens. But the boys do take those short walks, turning to see from a distance the young aunt and her cousin, as 2 or 3 young men lean in to speak in passionate and coded phrases.
Oh, you can almost smell the frangipani. I chose that passage because I just thought to be an observer and a participant in that late afternoon was something so memorable and written in such beautiful language. Thank you for that reading. But then bad things happen. And in part, so I consider that was part 1 of the book. And then in part 2, we learn the name of the boy. His name is Robert Carpentier. And he and his family are transplanted to escape the tropical republic and end up in New York. And Robert's detachment from his family, to whom he was so close in the tropical republic, when they get to New York is almost like complete. It's a great severance. And one quote a couple of times in the book is, "I'm far from home, I'm home again," within the same 2 lines. You feel that first when when he moves to New York, and then in part 3, he goes to Paris to study, and he's surrounded by fellow students and people he meets of all nationalities. He travels all over Europe. And he was also escaping the draft lottery in the United States, so the timing of which I think his father was very concerned that he was going to end up with a low draft number. This is during the Vietnam War, obviously, and be drafted. But instead, he has a remarkable adventure, many adventures, that culminate in the meeting of his wife on a Greek island, which is the 4th part separation from his family, physically, mentally, he really does not want to go home. Is the cause of that the trauma that the whole family suffered in when they left the tropics?
I think you're at the heart of the book here. Because I've been asked, could you please summarize the book in one sentence? And my stock sentence has been, it's the way in which extreme violence experienced as a child makes a certain kind of man in the world. So to answer your question directly, it would be, yes, there is a kind of trauma, but also a kind of delusion, right? He's delusional in the sense that he really thinks, Carpentier that is, that you can leave the past really behind. So the book in a way is a kind of tragedy because he's blind to the fact that you just can't do that, that it always catches up with you. And in the second part, or third or fourth, depending on how you look at it, of the book, we have these passages that are in italics, right? That hark back to the tropical republic, right? They can be called a number of things, nightmare sequences, dreams, but they certainly are not part of the action, right? They're just sort of intrusions on his present life, right? The past keeps coming back, keeps coming back, keeps coming back. And I think in a way, the book might be described as a tragedy, in the sense that by the time he realizes you can't leave the past behind, it's already too late. In that way, I was very influenced by a short story I love, which is Henry James's The Beast in the Jungle, from which I got part of the title for my book. It's about a man who realizes too late that he didn't live. He didn't grab the chance of loving that he had been offered. And at the end of James's story, he sees someone grieving. He's in a cemetery because someone has died. And he realizes that he's never really felt anything before. But it's too late. Life has passed him by. And I think in many ways, Robert Carpentier is that kind of character.
And that would also remind me of The Remains of the Day as well, that novel. But the interludes in Europe I found to be very enjoyable. The perspectives of the people of different nationalities that he met. He was in Paris after a few years after 1968, but you could still feel the repercussions of the everything that was going on all over the world, the student movements at the time, and also the takeover in Greece, because he spends a lot of time in Greece. So then the third and fourth parts, for me, after he meets Eve, who is the person that he wants to connect to the most, but there's that trauma that gets in the way. She's really a delightful character, and I'm not going to give away the end, but there's a very painful passage where Eve's best childhood friend, has AIDS, is stricken with AIDS, and Robert's inability to understand Sebastian, the friend, and Eve and their connection was very disturbing. Was that a hard part to write?
Yes, especially since the character of Sebastian is based on a very dear friend of mine who passed away during the AIDS epidemic. And so it was both easy and hard to write. Easy in the sense that the material was sort of already there, but hard in the sense that it took me back to a moment in my life that was painful. Um, his inability, it's beyond inability. It's his refusal to partake of Sebastian's suffering. I mean, this is his wife's best friend, and the man is dying, and he's still holding on for the illusion, the delusion of perfection and beauty and going to the beach and summers, right? Because he's so adamant about not allowing the past or suffering in the present to affect him. That's what's delusional about him. You see, it's so whether it's the Vietnam War and the draft, whether it's politics because Parisian students tried to enlist him in different parties, whether it's the Greece of the colonels, the dictatorship of the colonels, or the bombing in America, Timothy McVeigh and all of that, he just gives it a wide berth. He does not want to see. He doesn't, because that would take him back to the past, to a kind of reality that he just can't bear. And that's also why he chooses, that's why he becomes an art historian, right? He takes refuge in beautiful surfaces, in colors and shapes. That's what he wants, you know. That's his delusion. That's his tragedy.
Well, we're running low on time, and I don't want to leave viewers and listeners with the impression that this is in any way a depressing book. It's so vivid, and you get into Roger's head so well that at the end, all I felt was just such sympathy and regret for him. But I was so pleased to have met him, met all these characters, met Eve, his wife. Spending time with them was just, it just took me out of everything that's going on in this country now, and I need relief from that, and we all need relief from it. So I offer your book as a prescription to take away current miseries and to just immerse yourself in different worlds, very meaningful worlds. So I want to thank you so much for coming on Book Stew, for doing the reading. And all viewers and listeners, I'm going to hold up the cover again because they're one of the artists that the main character is very interested in is the artist who did this painting, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, but I'll put something about him in the show. So this is the beautiful book cover for the beautiful book. Roger, thank you again for being with us today.
Very much, Eileen. Thank you. Sincere thanks.
Okay,
and thank you for being such a wonderful reader.
Oh, thank you. And you did a beautiful reading too. So viewers and listeners, you've got to get this book. It will, I get lost in trying to describe the pleasure that I felt in reading it. So look for the book, The Delicate Beast, and have a good night.